Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Lane of the We Will Not Support Hillary Clinton closed Facebook group. Looking at the site, we obviously had lots of commotion on here, and I want to place a few thoughts on the election in California. Number one, as you're reading, it's not done. We have well over 2 million votes. We might even have more because you can actually, as long as you mail it in, get postmarked by the election date on Tuesday. It has 3 days to get to the local register of voters. So we might have a lot more than that. Number two, it seems like my gut says we have a lot more voters than just 33% turnout statewide. At least in my precinct, I was a precinct inspector, so I want to give you some quick feedback on what went on after I give the global overview. The larger overview is the fact that we had a gigantic uptick earlier this year. They reported a 218% increase in new registrations. Most of these new registrations were coming in the form of either Democrat or no party preference. The no party preference was seemingly a good idea, a semi-open or semi-closed primary. Turned out to be quite a disaster, and I think a voter suppression tactic on purpose. It required a two-step process. Number one, you had to join the no party preference, but for you to get a mail order ballot, for example, or to come into the poll, you would ask for a crossover ballot. Well, as of around May 23rd, which was the deadline for actual registrations for the state of California, you had to, by May 31st, actually send a request for a crossover or a Democratic ballot, for example, to see Bernie on there. Well, as of that time, only 14% of those 2 million, so there are 4.2 plus million people for NPP, over 2 million for mail-in, only 14% of those asked for the proper procedure for the crossover. So they got mailed a ballot that did not have presidential candidates. How many people actually filled it in and then didn't realize it was the wrong ballot? I don't know. How many people brought that in or forgot to bring it in? I don't know. But a court case was filed. Injunctive relief was sought in District 9 federal court. Judge Alsup up there said a few things. Number one, why'd you do it so late? It's injunctive relief. That shouldn't be part of the issue. Number two, he felt that the state of California did enough education, but if only 14% of the people actually did the correct thing for the mail order ballot, then obviously that just smacks of stupidity as far as that comment goes. So they were considering appealing the court case. Hopefully they do. At the end of this, I'll put their name in, and hopefully we can start a donation campaign to give them money they need to follow up with these court cases here in California and elsewhere. They're the ones that have experience, well back to 2000, 2004 elections, especially in Ohio, which seems to be the epicenter of corruption along with Florida. Getting back to California, so there we are. I'm a precinct inspector. We go through poll training. Poll training, as you saw probably online in Orange County, they said give people provisional ballots. Well, that's just insane. They didn't do that in Silicon Valley, but what they did, and we have 800 polling locations, by the way, what they told us is we cannot ask them if they are a NPP voter. We cannot offer them a provisional ballot, and we cannot offer them a Democratic ballot. Now, it states in the roster index if they are an NPP voter, so it's not like it should be anything that should be asked. I mean, we could give them a choice of all the different parties that they could have, for example, and therefore we're not biasing them in any way whatsoever. So a lot of confusion for the voters, confusion and misinformation for the poll workers, and the judge dismissed all of that. Specifically what happened in our experience here in the precinct that I was at, so I'm the precinct inspector, which means I oversee the whole operation. More people than ever, more excitement than ever, more people than ever that stated they had a vote by mail, but they didn't come in with it, so they had to go provisional. New this year was the NPP or no party preference, which also the judge should have realized if you haven't done this before that people won't get used to this in large measure, and we should have had more of an education campaign. A lot of people did not know what the terms were, so they did not necessarily ask for it. They got into provisional ballots. So when people come in, they also sometimes made mistakes because they did the ballot. They started filling it in, then they discovered that, oh, I have the wrong ballot. They returned it. So it's called a spoiled ballot when it's inside the precinct. A lot of people came in and turned in the surrendered ballot is what they call it when they bring in the ballot to say, here's my old one or the incorrect one, give me the correct one. So we had a gigantic number of spoiled and surrendered ballots, far more than ever before in any election I've ever been, by a factor of at least 3 to 4. Well, provisional ballots are probably at least 3 times higher than what they were before as well. And many of these people probably should not have been in provisional ballots because of the various issues with the vote by mail. They didn't get their ballots, and the fact that they should have known, or we should have been able to tell them how to vote as far as what type of ballot that they wanted. At least give them options or offer them different choices, and they could have made the decision a self-select as well. So those are some thoughts on this. Don't be discouraged by California. We should have over 2 million votes. I do think we need a cautionary tale, though, and I'm not sure that the trustvote.org people can find it, is once again, I think we're far short on what we're at 33%, around 18 million voters. Some people are saying there's 12 million votes that aren't counted. I don't know what that number comes from. We always have a large percentage that never vote, so that just is what it is. But 33%, I find that very hard to believe. Are they hiding somewhere? If you've seen Hacking Democracy and other documentaries, that could easily be the case. Are they stripping and flipping electronically? Absolutely. Even if they're electronic, that's easy. If they're not electronic, as people think the optical ballots solve everything, no, they don't, because you can actually have the software for the main optical readers that are processing hundreds of thousands or millions of these ballots to actually essentially do a strip and flip there as well. So lots of issues, lots of concern. Don't let it get you down. But do please look up and share widely what's happening in California, widely what trustvote.org and Election Justice USA are doing. Please donate to both those groups, and please donate also to Bernie's campaign. I think we can still donate there and show a big strength and let him realize that we have his back. So if we can come up with tens of millions of dollars this month, we really, really do need to do that. We also need to focus on phone banking, face banking, texting, canvassing into DC. Let's win, and let's win big in DC. Let's help the folks that are organizing the campaigns for the DC to DNC march from DC to Philadelphia. Let's help the folks that are needing houses to stay at, rooms to stay at, RV parks, buses, transportation from across the country inside. Let's start thinking about what we can do to literally get 300,000 people, peace-loving, peaceful protesters there, and work with the organizations. We're going to need people that are trained. They already have been doing the training for the folks coming into Philadelphia that will help oversee it. We have to expect that there will be a significant number of Hillary people that will try to infiltrate it, or surrogates from their super PACs to try to create violence. This has happened at other events before, and Bernie's been blamed for it, so we need to make sure that that doesn't happen here as well. So don't give up hope. There's a lot to happen. There are things that are in play, and the state of California has 30 days, up to 30 days, to count all of these ballots, and they do in general get more. I do need to find out what the appeal process is. Everyone theoretically has a verifiable form that they can follow up with their local ROV to see if their provisional ballot or even their regular ballot counted, and if not, then there is an appeal process. So we are not done, not by a long shot. Of course, the media wants you to think it is, getting Elizabeth Warren and President Obama to pile on what you think it is, as to Biden as well. It's not over. Don't even think about that. There's a lot more that we can do. There's a lot more that's going on the scene, and the stronger we can make the case for what we need to do with Bernie, why Bernie's the person, and frankly, why we as millions of people need this to go on. They're going to try to pressure Bernie. Bernie can look back and say, you know what, I can't. I got these millions of people that are counting on me to win. And we look at what the 43% are in America that are independents. Look at a large number of Democrats that'll come over. You've got a fair amount of Republicans that'll come over to Bernie. Whether it's a third party, an independent run, a fourth party, in case the Republicans get someone in there, we can win, and we can definitely win. But the last thing to know is we somehow have to find a way to stop the cheating and the electoral fraud, which I contend is the largest election fraud in the history, modern history of the U.S., if not the world. We need to stop this. President Obama could have stopped this anytime during his 2 terms. He chose not to because he thought it benefits the Democratic Party establishment, and it does. So this is what they're using. This is what the establishment is doing. And these are elections that would have been caused by election fraud, and they would have been called as such by both the U.S. State Department and the CIA. And actually, that's partially because the CIA and the State Department have actually caused election fraud. So if you start to wonder why election fraud is happening and why people familiar with it and supportive of Hillary are doing it for her, think about that. All the expertise that you need is from the State Department and the CIA, and they may still be very beholden to Hillary Clinton. Think about that for a second. But think about what we can do. Remember, Election Justice USA and trustvote.org. Please donate. Thank you.